Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, and this is the Organize Your Life with Clutter Coach Claire podcast. Here with me today, I have Adam Davis, who is a musician and an artist and a dad and a husband and does a whole bunch of things. He teaches music. He works at a gym. I think you do other things too. Well, you do your music as well. You
Yes.
produce that. So what I want to talk to him about is that he's a creative person who doesn't have a 9-to-5 job, which gives a lot of people structure to be able to organize their lives. If you don't have that, you have to make the structure yourself. So I want to hear what his secrets are for doing that.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I have a lot of little notebooks that I keep lists in. I have a notebook that I keep more long-term goals in. I find that really helpful, and it also brings me a lot of joy to look at it later when I've actually accomplished something and say, hey, I did that. And then I have a little spiral-bound notebook that I try to keep my day-to-day list in. The laundry, the dishes, the remembering to feed myself. And then I have even another slightly larger notebook that sometimes I put grocery lists in, or just I use it as more of a catch-all for whatever I need to write down at the moment. And then I have a different notebook that I write down lyrics in because I have to have a special place to put that stuff. Otherwise, it ends up mixed in with all the laundry lists and the to-do list, rather than in a special place where later I can keep it and put it on a shelf. Because the spiral-bound notebook is disposable. Like, it's something that when I finish, I'll throw it away.
Sure.
I don't want to look at 100 pages of do the laundry, do the laundry, do the laundry. Something they don't tell you when you have kids is the laundry becomes exponential. And I currently, do laundry probably 5 or 6 loads at a time, twice a week.
Wow.
Which is excessive.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
I like that you have all these different lists, though, because I've written about that in the past. You want to have a list where you're keeping your long-term projects, but that's not in front of you every single day because you've got these other things to do.
And the hard thing, too, that I find is I only have so many pockets. One's got keys in it, one's got headphones, one's got my wallet, one has my phone. I don't have a place to carry the list. So when I'm out and about, then I'm like, maybe I can just write it on my phone. But then the second I pull out my phone, there's a distraction there. There's like, this person sent me an email, or look at this funny thing that somebody said to me, or this email came in and now I got to take care of it, or the iPhone's perfect for just popping up a billion different distractions. Look, this show that you'll never want to watch is on Netflix now. Please go watch it. And I don't. But it's another just thing that gets in the way of my day and my ability to create and produce and thrive.
Does that mean you like handwritten lists instead?
I do like the handwritten list, but then I find that if I misplace my list, if I just don't have it with me, then I feel paralyzed, and it's really easy to spin my wheels. Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure it out still.
Well, you told me you had a concept that you call pie slices, I think, that you divide up your day that way.
I definitely slice my day up into kind of hour-long increments. I've found that even the smallest task ends up taking an hour. So, and some things end up taking longer. I've found that folding a load of laundry takes about 20 minutes. Like yesterday, I did a different podcast interview, and I folded my laundry while I did the podcast interview because it was just audio. So I could just stand there and talk to the person and with my headset on and fold laundry and then make the bed. So at the end of it, I felt very accomplished because I'd finished the whole podcast and I'd finished 2 loads of laundry and made the bed.
Well, I should thank you then for taking time out of your laundry to be on camera with me. So the pie slices sounds like it's a way of organizing things and also being realistic about how long they take. Right.
And it's more of just like a mental idea of just like, okay, if I'm going to drive to the grocery store, it's going to take me 10 minutes to get there. It's going to take this long to gather all the stuff that I want to buy. It's going to take this long to wait in line, and it's going to take this long to get back, and it's going to take this long to unpack all the groceries, put them where they go, put the bags away. So usually if I break it down, it ends up being, I can do it, make the chart in my head, and it looks like an hour and a half. And so then I look at that, and you've got these chunks. The kids get dropped off at 8:20. I get back here about 8:30, and then every day is different. There's Monday and Tuesday I work at the gym, so I have to drive there. Driving to the gym takes 15 minutes. Teaching the class takes an hour. Takes another 20 minutes to put everything away after the class and get home. Then I have to clean myself up, which sometimes I skip because I'm trying to make time. But then your quality of life suffers if you come home from the gym and you don't change out of your gym clothes. Then you feel itchy and irritable for the rest of the day.
Yes.
So you have to still make time for yourself, and before you know it, you look at the clock every day, and the whole day has gone by. And I find that I can write down all these lists and create and do things all day, and at the end of the day, I will still feel like I didn't do enough.
Although you do seem to have a very realistic view of what you do and how long it takes, which so many people don't. They're like, no, I'm going to pick up the dry cleaning. I'll just, stop and just get it. And they don't realize they got to spend 10 minutes finding parking because I chose a dry cleaner who lives in a neighborhood where there's no parking.
Yeah, or they go to the dry cleaner and then they go, oh, I could really use a cup of coffee. I'm tired, and they stop at the coffee shop. Yes. And then you get a cup of coffee, and then maybe you have to wait in line, and then you run into a friend, and then you sit and talk with the friend, and before you know it, you've blown through another 45 minutes of your day. Right. Another like almost full pie. But
does your slice theory help you avoid doing things like that?
No, mostly just stresses me out.
Oh.
It kind of works, but it's more just when I'm plotting things out. I can see, okay, this hour is going to be this, and then the next hour is this. Yeah. And then you can line it up and figure it out and get it up till, okay, now it's the 10 minutes before I walk to school and get the kids.
Right.
And then when I get the kids home, then it's a matter of making sure their needs are met. And with one of them, the 8-year-old, it's much easier. Like he's very easy. The 6-year-old, much more volatile. Oh. I could pick him up from his class and he could be upset about something or have a wild idea about something that he wants to create himself. And so then I can't really count on the time when I get them home to... It has to remain pretty loose. Like I used to take them grocery shopping. I stopped doing that because they want to grab stuff, put it in the cart. They want to goof off in the grocery store.
The pie slice gets bigger.
It ends up taking longer, and my frustration level goes way up.
Right.
And I don't want to be frustrated with them. I want them to see me as a kind and happy person, not as a cranky, irritable piece of crap.
Yes.
So
you do have a structure that more or less works for all the very different things that you do in your day, but those all do have some external accountability. But now you have your music and your art, which, I know you have a band, maybe even more than one, so there's some accountability from that. But even so, those are places where you have to carve out time.
Yeah, well, with the band thing, when I was in my 20s, the band thing was all I did, really. We toured 8 months out of the year.
Wow.
We practiced, when we were home, we practiced 3 hours a day for 3 days a week. I lived with all of those guys. We played every single weekend, was out playing shows. And so I devoted a large chunk of time to the band. I cannot do that at this point in my life. And I do not want to do that at this point in my life. I feel like a lot of my late 20s and early 30s, I spent going to these shows and practicing and kind of spinning my wheels, where we were just going through the motions of doing the same thing, not ever innovating, not ever thinking about it from a new perspective, and being like, gosh, we just keep doing the same thing and we're not getting any better results, even diminishing results. Less people are coming to the shows. So the way the band works now is the new band, which is called Omnigon, is really just me. It's a band in theory, and there's one other person, my friend Barry, who was in the old band with me. He plays bass, but he lives out in Manteca, and he has his own family. So we can only really see each other if we're going to get together to record, or if we're going to go play a show.
Yeah.
We don't practice because we do when there's a show coming up. but we don't practice on a regular basis. But we also have been playing our instruments for 20-something years now.
And together.
Yeah, so we understand where each other are coming from. We don't need to do that. So I was able to cut out that part, the practicing part. And then it's mostly just, since now I'm writing all the songs, I'm writing all the lyrics, I'm setting up the time to go record. I'm the one that has the relationship with the record label, and I'm trying to push that. And since it's only me and Barry, but Barry trusts me to take the helm and push forward on this. So I'm the one doing all the social media and presenting the band to the world. But the good thing about it is I'm able to do it in little tiny pieces and have a lot larger effect than spending 3 hours a day in a practice space sweating it out with a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
So the band thing, I feel like I've streamlined. Like I've really cut away the pieces that don't work for it.
But you also need to make time to just write some lyrics. I mean, some people just think, well, I can't just sit in a chair and just write a song. I've got the muse.
Yeah, and so I mean, the way that I've kind of approached that is a few different ways. There's the voice memo app on your phone, and there's also the little notes section on your phone. And so usually, if I'm just out and about and an idea comes to me, I'll just whisper it into my phone.
Yeah,
and then it's there, because it used to be back in the day before you had cell phones at the ready. Maybe you'd write it on a little piece of paper, or you'd have this great idea, and then by the time you got to where there was somewhere to write it down, it was gone. My friend Sean has this whole song about he was on tour and he had this notebook, like one of those composition binders that he had written DE at the beginning of decomposition, and he had been drawing in it and writing all these lyrics, and then it got either stolen or lost on tour. And so he has this whole song about what if that one song was in there. What if the song was in there that would have made me famous, and it would have been the song that like people heard at the grocery store, and it's like a heartbreaking song to listen to, but it's beautiful, and I almost feel like that experience made a better song than probably anything that would have been in that binder, probably. But so yeah, I try. A lot of people who I know write lyrics. They'll just set aside time and they'll do write, like set a timer and write down things, and then just go back and pick out the best parts. I haven't found a lot of use in that.
But you don't seem to be finding it hard to fit that kind of creativity into your life.
No, it's more the music thing is easy because also when it comes down to time to record vocals. I can usually, my friend Jamie, he's actually in this band 10 in a row, he's the one who usually records me doing vocals, and he'll make fun of me. He'll call me Steven Tyler when I'm sitting there writing down in my, because I'll cram, like the moment before we hit record, I'll cram and write stuff down. And he's like, okay, Steven Tyler, you done writing lyrics over there? So I get them all in. Yeah. And that part, it's more just finding the right consonants and words that fit into a structure, and almost that pressure of like we have to do it right now makes the stuff come quickly.
That's a lot of people work that way.
So the music thing is fine. The art thing, you literally have to sit there with a pen and pencil and create the art.
Right.
And there's no way to do it any faster. And the thing that I find so infuriating about the internet is that people will just post these time lapses of themselves drawing, where they show an entire drawing getting made in a minute and a half, which is beautiful and it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
You can't draw that fast though.
Yeah.
And my brain starts to think, I should draw that fast, and it's like, dude, it's a time lapse.
Yeah.
This is going to take at least, like I sat down last night and I had to draw a couple little characters, 3 little characters, and I already had them sketched out, so I had to just trace them out on some vellum with an ink pen, and then go back and put in all the detail. But all that rendering, making it look the way I want it to look, I know that it's going to take 2.5 hours.
Wow.
I know I can plot it out in my brain and say, by this time I'll be done. And I could feel, I subbed somebody else's class at the gym last night. So I came home, I didn't shower, I I got straight to it. Oh, not straight to it, excuse me. I had to do the dishes. The dinner dishes had not been done yet. I had to do that. I had to switch over the laundry. Then I finally got to sit down and start drawing. And so at 12:30 at night, my shoulders aching, hunched over the desk. I had all the art done, but then the next thing, you have to scan it into the computer. You have to clean it up in Photoshop. You have to color it. You have to lay it out, and then you present the final product. All of that will have to happen later.
So this was an assignment.
Yes, this is. I'm doing a concert poster for a band.
Okay.
They gave me the concept, and I was like, "Great concept. Let's draw it." But then it's just. I mean, if I could just download what was in my brain and just put it on a piece of paper, it would be instantaneous. Like, I know exactly what it's going to look like.
Sure.
But I know that my hands can only move so fast.
Right.
That I have to get the paper, I have to sit down, I have to have everything situated. And then if I get hungry, if I get thirsty, if I have to go to the bathroom, especially have to go to the bathroom, that's the one where if I could just find a way, maybe I just need to get adult diapers or something. I mean, just
that would be a great time saver.
Having to just get up and go pee is
and a Camelback.
And then having to recognize that I need to go pee, because I will sit there and I'll get frustrated and I'll get my body will get tense, and then I'll just realize, dude, you're being a giant baby. Just go pee.
Yeah.
Use the toilet. Yes. You feel this way because you don't feel good.
Mm-hmm. So being attentive to what's going on in real time.
Own needs.
So you said, well, I had to do the dinner dishes, and then I had to do this and that and the other thing. I should mention that you are married, so you do have an agreement with your wife that you do certain things and she does certain things.
Yeah. And a big thing, I mean, we just bought this house that we're recording this in, and my wife has the day job that pays the bills, and she now makes enough money that we were able to get a house. Which was terrifying.
I bet.
But it's also very nice to know that this is where my kids will grow up forever, and that I have a place for all my stuff, and that we have a place to have family over for the holidays. It's wonderful. But at the same time, there's a lot of stress involved, and I know that my wife is, very stressed. She has to be at work all day. She feels a certain way about, she might not get to see the kids as much as she likes. And so I try to take on as much as I can here, so that when she comes home, she's not stressed out.
She doesn't have to work more.
Yeah, I don't want her to have to come in and do more work. So that's why I do the meals, and then I also do the dishes, and then I also do the laundry, fold the laundry, put the laundry away, and then I also, on top of that, the little sidebar, try to put the laundry where she wants the laundry to be, so that she's not hunting for her clothes. I'm trying to be sympathetic to that sort of stuff, but sometimes I don't know where a certain item goes. I can't find the drawer for it, and so then I have to ask her later. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's just one of those things where you're holding this thing and the clock's ticking. And
you need the system to be more finely tuned.
I need the thing to get where it's going so that I can finish and get to the next thing.
But again, you seem to be so good at this completion thing. I did talk to a woman once who complained that her husband didn't help around the house as much. And she said, well, he does the laundry, and he'll do the laundry and then put it on top of the dryer and say, oh, God, I did the laundry. He never puts it away.
It doesn't count. The laundry is a process. You have to, first things first, you have to sort the laundry. And I've gotten it down to where I take out everything that cannot go in the dryer, all the bras, all the workout pants, all the things that could get ruined, and I put that in one load, so that it all gets washed together, and then it all comes out and gets hung up. Then all the other stuff, and then you have to dry it, and then you have to keep a timer running, which is, as much as I hate my phone, it's also very useful. Mostly I just need the noise to stop from it. I need to kill as many notifications as I can. And I need, honestly, I wish there was an option where it's like, this phone works as a phone. Would you like it to no longer work as a phone? Yes. I don't want anybody to call me. Do you ever talk on the phone?
I do sometimes, but not a whole lot. I do a lot of texting.
I never talk on the phone unless it's an emergency. I'm always about texting. And then another thing too is, sometimes later in the day, life can get monotonous, and around 3 every day I have like an energy sag, which is awful because that's also when I pick up the kids, which can make me very irritable. So I try to find ways around that. And what I was trying to get to with that is that one of the things I've been trying to pay more attention to is just shooting off a quick text to people that maybe I haven't seen in a little while, and just let them know that I'm thinking about them. Anybody that pops into my head, I just try to send them a little message and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. I don't need anything, or you don't even have to respond to this if you don't want to, but just know that I miss you and I hope you're doing well. And usually I get a nice message, oh, hey, thanks, and move on with my day.
Cool.
Little things like that to try to just keep things joyful and productive.
Well, I wanted to emphasize the point that you made about the laundry, though, because I've talked about this on my show a lot, that the concept of completion, that you prepare for a task, you do all the sorting, you do the task, and then you do the wrap-up, so the task is done and put away, which so many people leave that out. And that is what causes clutter, and it causes disorganization, because they've stopped all these things like 9/10 the way there.
Yeah, I really can't just do a single load of laundry. Like, I have to do all the laundry.
And then you put it all away.
But then it's hard, too, because with the gym, you immediately produce 2 whole brand new sets of completely sweaty, disgusting clothing. So I always try to get it wrapped up before we get back from the gym, so that at least the next load can start to build.
Right.
And then I try to have at least 2 or 3 days in there where I don't do laundry, which sometimes doesn't happen. Sometimes the whole week is just back-to-back laundry. You finish it all, and then you put it back on.
So focusing on your art again, so you have certain times that you do that, so late at night when everybody's in bed, is that a time for you
That's
to
when
work
it usually
on that?
ends up being, but that's when I'm at my worst. It's when it doesn't come as easily, my hands don't work as well. Like, earlier in the morning is when I should do it. That's when
and you would have
need
time
to start
then?
flipping it. No, but I need to start making the time. I need to start setting a timer on the days where I don't teach at the gym in the morning. I really have to like buckle down and say, this hour or this 2 hours is when I'm going to draw. And make it happen. Otherwise, it just, then it suffers. If I try to jam it into later in the evening, it doesn't work. And then last night I was down in my studio working, and my wife was sitting in here watching TV, and she came down and checked on me, and she's like, hey, good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to finish this art. But
so it cuts into your social life with her.
Time together. And I don't want us to feel distant. And so it's a balancing act. I mean, really, I just have to have the discipline to do it first thing when I get home from dropping off the kids.
Make it into a slice.
Yeah, definitely set aside that first hour at least, and then give myself the wiggle room of a second hour if I want it. To keep drawing. And then while I'm sitting there, I could even have my list sitting on the desk of the things I need to get done that day. Where I could add to it if a thing pops in my head. Oh, I should be doing this. Nope, just write it down. Do it later. Don't do it right now.
Yes, I love that. And I've talked about that too, how if something does pop into your head, you can't avoid being distracted by it by having a place to record it, to do it later. And then refocus on the task that you've decided. Because what you're also doing is continually reprioritizing. Oh, should I do this? Is this more important? No, actually the thing I was doing is still the most important thing. I'm going to finish it. So that is a really good way to stay focused.
Now, I have a question about lists. One of my big problems when I make a list of what I want to do during the day, I will put things on there, like I will put one line that just says laundry, which obviously we just talked about it. It's a huge task. But then I'll put something else that's like take out the trash on the line right below it, which takes 30 seconds. What's a good way to set up a list so that... What would you think is a good way to set up a list to prioritize these things so that I'm not putting a thing that takes 30 seconds next to a thing that takes 4 hours?
Oh, so when you write it, you like it to be in order that you're going to do it?
No, it can be out of order. But I get a lot of satisfaction out of checking them off at the end.
Yes.
And if I'm not able to check them off, and I have one that carries over, that drives me crazy.
Well, I think for me, I like to start attacking the things I do the things first when I'm alert that are going to be the hardest mentally, or like in your case, moving your hands and just getting your brain focused on art. I would do those when I'm feeling the most jazzed up. I would say I've taken out the trash for 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you're not up for doing anything else, really.
Yeah.
Because that's a low level thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think about it. And also sometimes moving my body around will perk me up. So, I get to take out the trash. I at least can walk down the hallway. So I do think about it in those. Is it sitting at a desk using my brain, or is it being physical?
Yeah.
And those are, you need to mix those together.
Yeah.
I think.
So prioritize them by what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it.
Yeah, and then there's also, does this rely on other people? Like if you need to talk to your bandmate, is he asleep now? Okay, can't do that.
Right,
I guess
right.
I'll take out the trash.
Or is he busy with work? Or,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there are different qualities. That's not really the right word, but there's different things that you can do at different times. Context,
okay, so
I think, is the word.
Let's talk quickly about my garage.
Okay.
It's full of stuff, and you seem to understand getting rid of clutter.
Oh, yes.
What are your rules for getting rid of clutter? How do you see it?
Well, you need to start by sorting things.
Yep.
So all the sporting goods need to be in one place, all the off-season clothing, that's already, or you get that
It's
part.
happening, yes.
So then you can be comparing apples to apples.
Yeah.
So say you're looking at the sporting stuff, like say there's stuff that your kids used to play with 2 years ago, and now they don't.
Right.
And they all have these things that they are playing with. So those things can go, the ones they don't play with, ideally with their consent.
Yeah.
If you can train them to start realizing we got to get rid of the stuff that we don't use anymore, that's fantastic.
Okay.
The other thing about sorting things into categories is that you realize, wow, I actually have 6 winter jackets. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I bought this one. I got this one for Christmas. I'm going to get them all together and decide, okay, how many do I really need? If you go skiing every single weekend, you maybe need 4.
Right.
If you don't, maybe you only need 2.
Yeah.
So again, there's the context of your own life is going to tell you which ones you need. Or maybe there's one that you've always just hated. Hey, you've got 5 others.
Yeah, now you can get rid of that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that front closet over there.
That needs work
full
too.
of coats.
And then from the other end of it, you think about, what do I need and what do I love? Because your life is not just full of things that you must have. It's also things that are beautiful.
One of the hard things with the clutter is, and being a creative person, is I hold on to stuff that I might use for a project in the future. Like we did the Mosswood Park thing, and we had the scavenger hunt, and a lot of that stuff has to be built out of ephemera that you have. And I have a lot of that stuff from that same event sitting in the garage.
With artists, I think it's a little tougher
because
you are inspired by those things and you will need them.
Yeah.
I think for me, the litmus test is my working space big enough that I can have all this stuff and still work effectively? Or am I just so hemmed in about it that I'm reaching around here to get something and I don't remember what I even have because there is so much?
Yeah.
And again, that is completely personal. That's a very subjective thing. I mean, some artists are happy working at a little square of the table like this with things piled up. If they're happy, I'm happy. I'm not going to say that's clutter. But if there are artists who think, I've got all this stuff, but I've got no place to work and I've got no time because I'm always moving things around, then it's a problem.
Yeah. I need to figure that out. I have all these little boxes and drawers and just little knickknacks that are, could be something really special, but right now it's just a thing that's waiting in limbo. And I also used to have, before I was staying home, I had an office job and I was in charge of ordering the office supplies. So I would order stuff for myself that I would use for art, pens and sticker paper and stuff like that. And then and now I've got like 7 boxes downstairs of these pins that I decided I don't like.
Oh.
And now I need to find a place to take them and give them away. But it's just, again, it's just a matter of taking the stuff, moving it somewhere. It takes time.
It does.
And it's just planning it out and plotting it out and making it happen.
Yeah, and for your studio as well as your home or your office, it's very important to know all the things that you have. Like, be acquainted with all those things. What's in that cabinet? Can you tell me right now what's in there?
Yeah.
I'm not actually asking that question,
Yeah.
But if you don't know...
that's full of Christmas dishes.
Good. So if you're an artist who has all these inspiring things around, but they're in the back of the closet where they're not inspiring you back there.
Exactly.
But if you've got the time to, I'm going to look in this box, I'm going to look here, I'm going to look for inspiration in my own studio, that's the way that you would utilize that.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to talk about Brainweasels.
Yeah.
What are Brainweasels?
For me, it's the negative self-talk that you can have where you get discouraged and don't want to do things. And I guess a lot of people would just consider it depression or depression.
And this is for creative work mainly?
Yeah, and part of it can be looking at the successes of others and measuring yourself against them.
Yeah.
And one thing I've been trying to be better about, especially with music, is just realizing that music is a young person's game. Like, it's from the time you can play an instrument sometime in your teens to the time you're 25. That's really the window you have to make it happen.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen after that, you can continue doing it, but it's diminishing returns because your peers no longer have time to consume music the way they once did. They don't want to go to a dirty punk club anymore. Yeah. They don't want to go slam into each other and scream the lyrics to a song. They want to move on with their lives and stay at home and maybe listen to something more relaxing. And also, you physically don't have the energy like to play the type of music I like to play, like fast punk rock music. A lot of people burn out. There's a lot of people that I know who have played drums in bands and can't continue playing in that band because they can't play fast enough anymore. So that's one of the things where it's really easy to get caught up on, I will do it this way. Oh, the kids got it all wrong. But it's one of those things I just have to learn to let go of. And then with art, it's the same thing. I'll look at other people's artwork and go, gosh, that's really good. And I'll get mad that like, and the funny thing is I will get mad about somebody's art, and then I will focus on a piece of art that I did years ago that I don't think is good. And they'll fixate on it, and I'll be like, I suck at this. Like, I'm terrible. And not realizing that I have improved. We're constantly improving, and we can only create the art that we can create.
So is that what goes, you kind of force yourself to go on that track of your mind, or how do you derail yourself from that weasel?
The type of talk I'm doing right now is how you would derail yourself, but it's really easy to just, while you're doing another task, something you don't want to be doing, like washing dishes, to like have this thought in your head of like, this is happening to you because of this and and 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, I'd say it's completely baseless.
Yeah.
And it's pointless, and it's part of it. I've just been trying to put on music in the background, or have some sort of other distraction, a podcast, so that I'm not thinking about. So I'm not having that. I'm not giving the Brainweasels a platform to like continue to sit there and just gripe at me.
I think distracting yourself is a good technique. It seems like cheating, but sometimes you can't derail that weasel on your own just by willpower.
Yeah. And well, it's hard too because I'm different from my wife. She doesn't like to have music on in the background. Like if she has music on, she likes it to be like an active listening sort of thing. Whereas, when I'm just home with the kids, like I will have music on. I'm usually if the kids are crazy when my wife's here, I'm like, can you calm down? But if it's just me and they want to be crazy, I'll be crazy right along with them. I'll be loud and say stupid stuff and talk about poop, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But I know that that sort of activity stresses her out, and so I don't want to create a stressful environment for her.
Sure, yeah.
So,
but back to the weasels, it sounds like you've just gotten really good at knowing what the good self-talk is, and you can kind of slot yourself into that.
It, but it's there'll be months that'll go by where you'll feel down and feel this way or that way, or take off your shirt in front of the mirror and you're like, oh, look old and crummy, even though you're living your life. Your diet's going to change depending on what time of year it is. It's the Christmas season, so we're all eating tasty things. And
but do you keep working? Do you just keep drawing anyway? You keep
I just try to keep going. I mean, but the art, it's funny too, because if I take a hit with music, so I teach guitar lessons and I also play music. If somebody tells me my music sucks, or if I have a guitar student quit, it doesn't affect me.
That's great.
It doesn't bother me at all. How
is that possible?
I don't know. But like, I have guitar students quit and I'm like, all right, nice to meet you. See you later. Yeah. No problem. Like, it doesn't stick with me and it doesn't make me go, I'm a bad teacher. Sometimes it does for a moment, but usually it's like, nah, that's on them. Like, and for some reason with art, it's much more personal. And when somebody doesn't like what I've done, or they don't want to pay for a project, I did this. The one that I'm thinking of, I did a project that was it was supposed to be a book for these people that had a blog. They wanted to turn their blog into a book, and they had a book deal, and they put out the call for artists, and I responded and said, here's what my art looks like. Here's what and I drew exactly what they were asking for. They were stoked on it. They were like, this is amazing. You're great. Blah blah blah. And I told them, okay, well, before we go any further, can you please check with your publisher and make sure they like the way I draw? And they're like, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. So we were going to do 25 illustrations for this book. I got through about 8 or 10 of them. And these weren't like little drawings. These were like fully rendered black and white illustrations. We get through them, and they're like, oh, the publisher really wants to take the art in a different direction. Can you draw like this? And they showed me this like really crude, completely 180 degrees from the way I draw style. And the thing that really broke my heart was I really felt like I had like crossed into a new zone with my drawing. Like I felt like I was bringing these things to life on in my sketchbook. Like I felt like they were really coming together, and it felt very natural and fluid. And then they were like, can you draw these things that are and I was like, okay. And so I started second guessing everything I was doing, because it's completely outside of the way that I draw. And I was like, man, do I need to just draw with my left hand to finish this? And I just kept getting all this negative feedback on all of it. And then eventually they just paid me like half the money for it, and the project got canned. And then I think they may have eventually put out the book, but it sounds like it didn't go very well.
Wow.
Their blog ended up going away.
Oh my.
Whatever. But that sat with me for years, because it was supposed to be this quick job where I was going to get paid the right amount, and it was going to be done in a period of a couple months, and then I would have this friendship with these people, and we would maybe do a book signing somewhere, and it would be fun. And then it just turned into this thing where like nobody was happy and everything went to garbage. And that stuck with me it still sticks with me. And like I have some of the illustrations still, and when I come across them I get really mad looking at them. To the point where I want to do this thing where I want to have an art show where at sunup all the art's up, and it stays up all day. Maybe I'll do it here. Put up all the art. Every piece of art that I have gets pulled out, and it all gets tacked up somewhere. And everybody gets invited over, and everybody can take home whatever they want for any amount of money. 25 cents, $1, $5, whatever you want. Pay me for it, you take it home. At sundown, whatever gets left goes in a giant pile and gets set on fire. I don't think about it ever again.
Okay, so that's a good thing to do with memorabilia that you were really tired of having around, because it makes you feel bad. Set it on fire. Well, first try to sell it, then try to give it away, then set it on fire.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the big clutter things as far as art goes, and brainweasels, and just being attached, being more attached to one thing than another. I think a big thing also is that I've drawn since I was little, like 5, and I found that it was something I was good at, and then people enjoyed watching me do it or doing it for them.
Yeah.
And then slowly it has, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, maybe I'll work at Disney or I'll work at Marvel Comics. And then I found punk rock, and I went and toured, and one of the other guys in the band was a much better artist than me, so he would draw everything. And so I put it on the back burner for a long time.
Yeah. And
then eventually when that band broke up, I was like, well, I still like drawing, and so I got back into it. And then I started charging for it and charging more for it, and I feel like I have to, I've always said, okay, $50 an hour, that's my rate. But I also know that most of the people who want my art are people from bands. They don't have any money.
Yeah.
So I usually have started just saying, when I put it out there, I say, I charge this, but I know your situation. So whatever you're comfortable paying me, that's how we'll go through this. And so they know what my time is worth to me. But they also know that if they don't have all the money in the world, I'm not trying to put the screws to them.
Yeah.
And then it makes them feel like, well, I can pay a little bit more because it's not, it's not, he's not trying to screw me over. So it makes hopefully both parties feel good about it.
Well, let's wrap up a little bit. I'm thinking about things that you said especially about making life easier for your wife, who's the one who goes out to work every day.
Right.
So that kind of all of these little things that you do in your life, this busy schedule that you have, the kind of patchwork schedule, it's all aimed toward having a happy life.
And a productive life.
I
don't want to, I look at other stay-home parents, and I see a lot of just, they get the kids off to school, and they pick the kids up, and other than that, they're not cleaning their home, they're not doing anything to better themselves. Maybe they go to the gym a little bit here and there, but they don't have a schedule, and I feel like they're just floating through life. And I don't want to just float through life. I want to wring as much out of it as I can. And
a lot of it has to do with time management.
And a lot of it has to do with time management. And every moment that I'm in, I try to appreciate and enjoy, and even the ones that kind of suck.
Yeah.
Like, at least I can go, God, this sucks, but man, it's going to be great to be on the other side of it.
That is also a great technique. It can really spur you to do something that you don't want to do because you are going to get through it and get to the other side.
Yeah, that's something I try to impart during the workout classes that I teach. Is don't get, like, in the last couple of moments, a lot of people start to put down the weights or just stand there and go get some water, or they check their phone, and I just try to tell them, this is not the time to do that. Like, this is the time to double down and push through, because once you get to the other side of this, the change will happen. Like, you will get stronger, you will be faster, but you have to stay in this moment. Everything we did up until this point is the warm-up for this moment.
Yeah.
So do all that and then push through here, so on the other side you get the results, you feel better. And one of the things that I found that I didn't expect from working out is how emotional it makes me. Like, I've totally cried in class before.
Wow.
Like, luckily you're usually like cooling down or something, so you have your head down so you can just like let it out. But it's a release. It's great. And it's the one thing that I credit with changing my life in the last couple of years, where I didn't used to have energy and I felt crappy all the time. And it's not, I wasn't mistreating myself. I don't drink or do any drugs. I don't smoke. So it was just age catching up.
Yeah.
And I want to outrun that fucker as long as I can. All right.
Adam, thank you so much for being with me today. This was really fun. So, listen to the podcast, Organize Your Life with Clutter Coach Claire, on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all the places. Thanks.